and display in grid. Actual result will be when we execute these test cases. Then we can fill this actual result status, and if these test cases fails, we can give it a defect ID. So as of now we don't need this actual result status and defect ID. We are just preparing test cases. So the next test case would be, just copy paste this, test to check the functionality of save button by entering invalid data in mandatory fields. Same thing here. Enter company name, or let's just be precise here, enter invalid data. Enter invalid data in company name, enter invalid data in phone number, and enter invalid data in city. And here just change this, enter valid data. Here also enter valid data in phone number, and enter valid data in city. So there you go. This is the test step for this test case. And invalid values, we could give anything here. And the next one, again it's a phone number, so digits should not accept. And city, something, so should not save the details. The invalid details should not be saved. That is, test to check the functionality of save button by entering invalid data in mandatory fields. So those invalid details should not be saved. Actually, when user enters invalid details and clicks on the save button, a prompt box or an alert box will appear which says the user that hey, you have entered invalid values in so and so field, go and enter valid values. So these are the two test cases. Now let's write another third one test case. Third one would be test to check the functionality of save button by entering, can you guess guys, by entering valid data in mandatory fields and invalid in non-mandatory fields. I'm not writing the whole sentence, but this is understood. Valid data in mandatory and invalid in non-mandatory, right? So the test step for this would be little longer, but okay, these are the valid values. So the next 4, 5 and 6, how many text boxes are there? You go ahead and add invalid values in there. For example, like this, we had address, we had an address text box, so add invalid values in address, so it should accept. I'm not going to write everything in here. First, well, I'm not writing everything here because by now you must have got idea what these test steps are. So let me just omit this one, and the input values. These are the valid values for 3 mandatory fields, and go ahead and 4, 5 give invalid values there, and let's see what happens. The expected result should be, it should accept, because mandatory fields are important for us. So these are mandatory, so if these are valid, the detail should be displayed, the detail should be saved and displayed in the grid. So it should pass. Let's save that. That is one test case, that is valid data in mandatory fields and invalid in non-mandatory fields. And the next one would be, what can you guess again? Valid data in mandatory fields and valid data in non-mandatory fields. So go ahead and write test steps for that and test input values, and again, yes, this should pass. The next test case would be invalid data in mandatory fields and invalid data in non-mandatory fields. This is should not accept. This test case should fail. So this is it, I guess. We are checking the saving process or the functionality of save button by these test cases. First by entering valid data in mandatory fields, and then by entering invalid in mandatory fields, and then valid data in mandatory fields and invalid in non-mandatory fields, and after that valid data in both mandatory and non-mandatory fields, and invalid data in mandatory and invalid data in non-mandatory fields. So these are the test cases for save button.